Hello, my name is Yasser El Mashad. I work as a security specialist for F5 networks covering the META region. In today's session, we're going to go through the F5 application security overview and latest trends in the market with regards to application security. So let's get started. First, I would like to start with the importance of applications today. Every company today is in the digital experience business, and the applications are at the core of this digital experience. The coronavirus outbreak has changed the habits of consumers and the way organizations do business forever. The number of services that we can use without leaving our homes continue to grow every day. But users now have higher expectations and less tolerance for applications' poor performance or applications security threats that expose their personal and financial data to risks. In fact, 66% of consumers say that they would avoid a brand with a reputation of delivering a poor digital experience. So essentially, digital transformations has reset the expectations for the experience an application must deliver to be competitive. But what's getting in the way of delivering those personalized digital experience is a very complex landscape of digital transformation, a hyper-speed development, and the ever-expanding threat surface. Many organizations today are stuck somewhere between the old world and the new world. The traditional classic architecture alongside the cloud native architecture. But many of the digital experience that we see today is a blend of both of these traditional and the modern applications. On top of that, those traditional and the modern applications may reside or deployed in different environments. So organizations today may have applications running on-prem, but they also may have an application running in public cloud, and that's the hybrid approach. And shortly after that, we started to see what is known as the multi-cloud environment, where applications might be deployed in different public cloud environments. And this is because applications have different requirements, and the different public cloud environment may have different features that fit certain applications other than other. And recently, and this is the newest model that we start to see growing, is the distributed architecture. This is where we can have a single application that may have a component that is deployed in different environments. For example, the back end of the application might be a legacy service sitting on-prem. However, the front end of that application might be a modern component that's sitting on public cloud. Now, unsurprisingly, managing this mix of old and the new traditional and the modern applications in different environments is a significant challenge. So obviously, a new approach is needed to secure this architectures. Now, our approach is to allow enough decentralization to gain scale and speed, but to keep centralized oversight to ensure the security and compliance. So those are the solutions and the use cases I would like to walk you through at a very high level. The first one is the multi-cloud zero trust. Adopt multi-cloud zero trust strategy to embrace the decentralized network movement. Next is to adopt secure the modern infrastructure or application infrastructure, such as securing APIs, container-based applications, serverless applications, microservices, and cloud natives. Next is to shift left, adopt the DevSecOps. So automate the security policy into the application development lifecycle. Make the security part of the of the CI/CD or the development lifecycle of the applications. And next, provide a great user interface or user experience. The security and good user experience, they do not have to be trade-off. We can ensure security while keeping a good productivity and good user experience at the same time. And the last but not least is, of course, to stop advanced attackers by utilizing newer technologies like AI, machine learning, behavioral and statistical analysis, and the continuous monitoring to mitigate advanced threats like fraud and automation. Let's quickly cover a couple of these, some of these items that we just talked about. And we'll start with the multi-cloud with strategy for zero trust. Now, securing the multi-cloud zero trust strategy require the focus into 5 components. These are the identity, service, the endpoints, and next one is the network security, and then the application security. Now, in the middle, there is the access security, and the access security basically is the bridge which tie all of these controls together and share context and control. Now, the F5 solutions focus mainly on the applications security, access security, and network security. And these are the these are the components that we have a products and portfolio to secure the applications. So network security focus more onto securing the applications infrastructures. For example, network-based DDoS protection, DNS security, SSL visibility in the network. So this focus on the securing the infrastructure that hosts these applications. Access security by integrating with the identity provider services like Azure AD or Okta or Ping Identity, etc. And also by integrating with the endpoint security vendors like the MDM vendors or antivirus vendors, we can ensure trusted access to these applications. And finally, the application security take care of the layer 7 threats that can be either vulnerabilities on the web applications or mobile applications, as well as the fraud and automation attacks. Next is to adopt modern architecture. Now, securing modern applications sometimes is challenging. And to understand why security is so challenging for modern applications like an API, let's take a look at the typical API lifecycle. It's not too different from the traditional application. Now, the app dev team, they does the coding, okay? And then they do the coding, the building, and the testing. And then there is the DevOps who are responsible for facilitating the deployment and the publishing the API to the API consumer. And then we have here the API managers who are responsible for the operations and the monitoring of the API. So if you think about what is missing here, where are the security controls? Yes, that is missing. And this is why we are seeing lots of different threats against the APIs. Now, those teams are very smart people, but they are also very busy. They do not have the extra cycle to spend on security, right? And also API as a modern application, it's continuously changing all the time. And it's becoming more and more difficult to have security as part of it. Security can be looked at as a showstopper or a bit of a slower in this process. So the security needs to be approached from different perspective for APIs or for modern applications in general, as we're going to see later. Next is to shift left. And this is on top of what I just talked about for modern application. Now, at the heart of the digital transformation is the growth of those applications. And increased numbers of applications mean increased attack surface. A single application online open to the internet will get scanned and probed for vulnerability every 6 minutes. And if vulnerable, it can be compromised in less than 2 hours. And even if the companies have systems that do patch management and for the application, this is still faster than organizations can patch. So basically what we need to do, we need to have an dedicated application security platform that protects these applications. And most importantly, that this platform should be able to protect both traditional applications as well as the modern applications. So we want to support the legacy applications that might still be sitting on-prem. And we also want to adopt security for the modern applications that can be either an API or container-based application. And in this case, for the shift left, what we want to also ensure is that we want to make sure that the security is baked into the software lifecycle, development lifecycle. Now, today, many organizations, they rely on automation. And automation is good because automation, it gives the business the speed needed to deploy applications, to make changes to applications, to add features to the applications quickly and introduce those new features to the market. But also automation, in many cases, makes security overlooked because usually automation is done by the software engineers, the DevOps engineer, and usually security are in different team. So what we want to ensure is that we want to do this movement. We want to adopt this method of shift left, meaning that shift the security to the left, make it part of the pipeline, make it part of the automation. So when the DevOps engineer or the application owner do a changes to his application by triggering some pipeline or automation script, we want the security policy to be part of that automation. So we had to change our products and our platform to be completely automatable, to be able to be integrated easily into the CI/CD and the automation softwares like Ansible or Terraform or different other infrastructure as a code platforms. And the last is to stop the advanced attackers. Now, what we see is that every single application is vulnerable today for what we call the common software vulnerability and the common exploit. Essentially, every application needs to be protected against these type of threats. Not only the mission critical applications, but also the non-critical applications or the non-important at all applications. Because, and as you may know, that we kept hearing about major security incidents and the breaches on big organizations. And really the attacker were able to enter through very minor application or very small application. In a recent case, in one of the big financial institutions in US, where a major breach happened, and lots of personal informations were exfiltrated, and really the attacker were able to get in through the HVAC system, just like a temperature application that was non-critical at all, sitting there in the network for network admins to monitor the temperature in the data center, and that was their entry point. From that application, then they can jump to another more critical applications inside the environment. So every single application needs to be protected against these common threats. The next type of the threats is the advanced and the targeted threats. And these are the ones which target more the mission critical applications. Those are the smart attackers that they basically try to defeat existing defenses on the application. They try to create site-specific vulnerability. So they study the website or the application properly. They try to discover vulnerabilities. They try to defeat existing security controls. So obviously we need to have an advanced application security for those type of applications. And the third is the fraud and the business logic attacks. And this is probably the most sophisticated out of them. In this type of threats, the attackers go beyond exploiting vulnerability to exploiting business logic. What this means? It means that the attackers, they will start to exploit the inherent functionalities of the application, a feature that exists by default in application. The feature itself are not vulnerable. For example, the login page or the user registration page or password reset page. So those are a feature that exists in most of the applications. They might not be vulnerable. However, the attacker might exploit the business logic. For example, the attacker might exploit the user registration feature to create hundreds of fake user profiles. So he can use these profiles later for a fraud or an automation attack. Now, for traditional application security, this is not seen as a threat because there was no vulnerability existing application. There was no exploit being used in this attack. There is no signatures being triggered on the web application firewall. So this is looks like a normal traffic. However, the ultimate purpose of this action is malicious. And this is require a more advanced, sophisticated application security platforms that can understand the intention of that user. It can differentiate between a human accessing my application and the bot or non-human. And for those humans, it can also understand if this is a good human or a bad human based on the history, based on how he interacts with the application, based on what he do in his PC, based on the fingerprint that we collect and many other criteria. So with that, this concludes my presentation, and thank you for listening.